Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's episode. The title has come, Simultaneity of Cause and Effect within a Multidimensional System. And tonight I really wanted to look at this idea of cause and effect, but in a certain manner that I have explained and discussed it in other talks, and we'll do it here. First analogy, before I really dive in, and of course something in the subtitle, design prior to intelligence, so I will get to that. First thing I want to say is that everything in this world occurs or is perceived through a sort of cause and effect relationship. Now, I wondered about this, that everything we see in life, we're doing something and we're wondering what's going to happen. The whole relationship of the past and the future is in something being caused, and that's the effect of it, you know. So the causal position, even when we look at intelligence and nature, and let's just think of how many different human beings are behaving differently. Think of how many different creatures on this planet are moving differently, you know. And all of these are setting certain things into motion, but when we also think about how they were set into motion, do you know, it was as if the cause of one system was the effect of the previous system. And so there's a sort of correlation there as well. Now, what does it mean to wonder about cause and effect in a multidimensional system? And this idea is very vast. It's really the next phase, I would say, of philosophy. Because a sort of multidimensionality could be that the cause never left. In some sense, the cause and effect could be simultaneous. You know, a sort of multidimensionality could imply that the cause and effect. Sorry guys, I think the background noise was too loud. Okay, guys, this may be better music, but I'm going to focus on the talk. Pretty much the cause and effect can be seen in different ways in a multidimensional system. Now, multidimensionality, this is the beginning metaphor. This metaphor is really the core, at the core of this talk. The metaphor is simply that I want the person to visualize a cake, like a cake, any kind of cake. Now, I want you to visualize that there is, let's say, two cakes. Let's visualize two cakes. One cake, we come and divide the cake, literally get a knife and cut the cake into pieces, and that is a sort of multidimensionality. I call that inner multidimensionality. But when we wonder about the outer multidimensionality, it would be as if there's one kind of cake, there's another kind of cake, you know? Let's say there's a cherry cake, I don't know, orange cake. Those are different types of cake, yet it is not the same cake divided into different systems, you know? Internal multidimensionality, let's say, is always in one point. I would say the cake being cut up into pieces, it's like the human being is existing as one energetic event, and we're cutting up the cake pieces into different experiences: conscious waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. Do you see? So it's as if one endless existence while the person's temporary. I mean, from the moment you're born till you die, that's technically, you know, a certain experience, sort of eternal experience. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say eternal, but what I'm saying is it's like the sensation of the person exists. They know nothing else other than existing to some degree, existentially speaking. Experientially, it changes. It goes through, it just oscillates and elevates between the known and the unknown experience. So I would say, so there's one kind where the cake is divided into pieces, then there's one where there's different types of cakes, okay? So based on these two, these are the two types of multidimensional systems I'm looking at, and now to wonder about what does cause and effect mean for the inner multidimensionality, the cake that's cut up, and what does cause and effect mean to different cakes, you know? Now, in the okay, let me find better ways. We can't just I can't keep referring to this as cake. Can you imagine the whole talk is just so guys, this kind of cake and that kind of cake. I would say here we have an inner multiverse, the inner multiverse and the outer multiverse. There we go. This is easier. The inner multiverse and the outer multiverse. We can call it, I mean, I personally call it inner realms, but you can call it even innerverse. We can call it the internal landscape. I don't know, there's different ways to engage it, but let's call it the inner multiverse and the outer multiverse, just to have that multidimensional idea there. Anyways. First, we look at the inner multiverse. The point of the inner multiverse is that in that kind of multidimensional system, all parts of it are the same. This kind of multidimensionality is the same as having different organs in your body, different anatomical, biological systems. Do you know your cardiovascular system, your nervous system? Do you know? Different kinds of systems are in one system technically. So this is the organic approach. This is the old school way. Pretty much the idea of God is kind of like we're cells in an unknown body or mind. Pretty much that's how it's coming across. That means if somebody has truly lived in a country where religion, church and state are not separated, everything is the will of God, you know? You know, and it's not that I'm trying to be, the thing is for me, certain ideas don't have value in the same way. Do you know, for example, one idea is okay on its own, another idea is okay on its own, but when two ideas mix, oh my God. Sometimes the two ideas could be, for example, in my opinion, personally, church and state, that's just hard to watch, you know? But I'll tell you, the whole point is not to reduce, the system's efficiency, I would say. The idea is to, pretty much I'm just saying, certain people can look at the world and they can see pretty much, I would say, Chinese philosophy at its core went back towards, I would say, like Taoism even. It's all about abiding, as if you're a cell and the cell wants to be like one tiny red blood cell, let's say, wants to be the whole heart, and it can't. And the whole Taoistic wisdom is to go with the be where you are. Be literally not be where you are as in just physically be there. It means be the life of where you are. You know, the poet Rumi has this quote. He says, wherever you are, be the soul of that moment. That means when your eyes are open, that's time for living. That's technically really the living room. You know? Mystics had a living room, but it wasn't in this dimension. What I'm trying to say is that if you see yourself as the universe is intelligent, this is what I feel is closer to Spinoza's notion of God, where we are just part of an organism. That's the truth of nature. Nature is truth. It is the color for any sort of painting, whether drawn in the inner realms or outer realms. The realm. Now, anyways, so the cake divided into pieces, we are like one part of a cosmic brain. That would be a sort of inner multiverse notion, I would say. Then let us go and entertain the other side, the outer multiverse. This is where it gets interesting. And by the way, for those who are new, I was even explaining this to my brother today, that in front of your eyes, what you see is the outer realms. I called it that. And what is behind your eyes, if you were to close your eyes and how you exist to yourself as a subject, how there is a sort of subtler design being the context of the moment, where the idea of you is projected is, I call that the inner realm. So when you close your eyes, but you still see content of a visual nature, whether it's memories, whether it's visualization, whether it's a vision, whether it's whatever, you know, it's just that is in some sense not based on the visual senses to some degree. That means if your eyes were closed or not, it wouldn't matter. The inner realms, you can still perceive it. That means I could visualize a glowing cube just slowly orbiting in the air in front of me, a glowing blue cube, let's say, a light blue cube, and as I visualize, I'm visualizing this blue cube spinning. It doesn't matter if I close my eyes or open it. So when a person really gets acquainted to their inner realms through a sort of mystic silence, that inner realm content becomes accessible. So what happens is that it's as if like you looked in the mirror and you saw what the object component to the moment was. But when you look in the mirror, you don't see a subject. That means I felt like in my inner realms, like, you know, I've seen myself like, you know, what was it, like that picture of Arnold being jacked, you know? Like, but in the mirror, it's like I'm not at that kind of size, you know. So what it was is I noticed that how I am seeing myself behind my eyes is not accurately, is not synchronized with how I'm seeing myself in the mirror. The mirror doesn't tell you who you were. It tells you who you are and it shows you who you are now. It doesn't show you who you were. The inner realms are really there to show you who you are, you know. That means the mind is the primordial moving force in the empty room. So what is the value of wondering about cause and effect? This really makes us, if the system, if it's an inner, I'm going to go back to the inner multiverse, if we implement cause and effect to this, the cause is always the whole cake. That means when we wonder about the smaller pieces of cake, you know, so what's their cause? What are they? It's like when you wonder about the causal position of the organ, just one organ of the body, it cannot be devoid of the rest. There's an interconnectivity at work simply because there needs to be a spectrum, there needs to be a hierarchy, there needs to be an alphabet, there needs to be a language before we can feel we are. But what if we were before anything? What if before children, in some sense, were named and were a concept to themselves, they were just the raw presence of nature's view, unknown mind, journeying through known bodies? Let us evoke for the first time in history an effort towards multidimensional cultures. Because it's not per se for the validity of what face are we going to give to truth in this generation. You know, it's going to be all about really how far we can go if we max out our efforts now, efficiently, as a collective, really. So I would say it's like, what is the cause of it? The cause is the whole thing. The whole thing emerges. So if you were in an inner multiverse, in some sense, it will inevitably come down to the whole circle. Imagine a circle, you cut it up into different smaller pieces. What is the meaning of the piece again? The whole circle. It can't be devoid of the whole thing. That's how we find the kind of ancient yogis spoke about it. It fits that design. It's like the person's like, show me God, and the other dude was like, the enlightened dude was like, show you God, bro? What do you think all this is? It's like, who do you think is asking the question, you know? So I would say cause. The cause could be in that sense, how to write this? Okay, cause. So the cause and effect. Pretty much the difference between the two cakes is that one is singular first, then multidimensional. One is multidimensional. It's multidimensional first, so it can't just be singular. So what that means is we could all be like, yeah, everything we see is truth. All right, we saw it and we believed it and it was great, you know, but suddenly we see, wait a minute, we're in one room of a giant cosmic mansion. And the door is language that must be opened. You know, Terence McKenna said culture and ideology are not your friends. And then, I don't know where I heard this from, but there was a saying where it said the easiest way to, in some sense, get rid of an enemy is to make them your friend. So I suddenly noticed that the whole thing is not that it's just a messed up system and rebel against the system. It's about the individual's responsibility from a neutral stance upon the greatness of the potential of the system to then join and integrate into society. Because even Terence McKenna speaks about a transcendental object at the end of time. The name of a transcendental object. It's like it's the suggestion. It's kind of like where the multidimensional and singular are both true and both false. There's a term I personally ascribe to this, but I would say automata. It's in some sense the ultimate of the ultimate. Just like how we had in certain mystical traditions, the self of selves, you know, or the soul of the soul of the soul of the soul, and then this another soul of that soul, and then there was, you know, it's like the person can't see a soul to, you know, themselves, and then suddenly the person's like, oh my God, you know, if I have a soul, then the planet has a soul. If the planet has a soul, the galaxy has a soul. If, oh my God, if the galaxy has a soul, the universe has a soul. You know, if the universe has a soul, then beyond the universe has a soul, and it becomes this endless regression of hope to something that is forever changing. And unless we study change, how can we wonder about anything surpassing it. It's all a recognition that language is thin ice. That is the thing. I honestly feel we will, as a species, end up just becoming playful users of language. It's a technology, really. I would tell you, I'm bilingual, I know this. It's definitely, it's like the whole point of language is in some sense classification and expression. It's like classified expressionism. So when I wonder about the cause and effect of a system where the multidimensional singular are the same, okay, guys. I think I don't know if people can hear the NASCAR track right beside my house, but I'll tell you this: that really, what it is it is a seriousness to exploration. We take the overall exploration seriously, but we take the way, the journey to the serious destination playfully. When it comes to the cake being cut up into different pieces, each of those small pieces feel they're the effect of some sort of cause. You know, that means it's like when the brain asks itself, where am I? When the heart, imagine, this, of course, I'm saying this playfully, but I'm saying, if the heart asks itself, where am I? If all the organs in the body ask themselves, where am I? They would see they're in one body. So they would see that their causal position is singular, but there are different effects there. It's as if like truth is a single dot. Truth is like a circle. The center dot of it is the cause. The effect of it is the circumference, and every human being's degree of perception is like that. It's like the radius. The inner realms is not a shape. A dot is not a shape. But a circle is. You see? So it's as if there is our source if the cake is divided into pieces, our source is Our causal source is unknown. Our effect, our effect is known. So cause unknown, effect known. But in the other one, in the other cake where there's different cakes, because it's starting the other way, I would say it is multidimensional first, then singular. So whatever idea of singularity is instantly broken by the idea that there could be another singular equivalent to that value. That means, here's the thing, imagine somebody says there's a giant in the forest of 100 meters, that is blue. A blue giant that's 100 meters is in the forest, let's say somebody says. And then somebody comes and says, hey man, then there's also a green giant 100 meters in the forest, So what it is the moment we have a singular value, there's something about the probabilistic ability of the inner realms. It's like we can, once we see a familiar pattern, we can self-replicate like a cell, you know? If causally the system is multidimensional, the singular can never know it's singular. If causally the system is singular, the multidimensional will never know they're just multidimensional. Either we evolve beyond our languages, our dualistic inner technologies, or we die in them. That is the nature, the cruel nature of reality. That unless you move, your attention remains where it is. And I can tell you, for me, sleep, the idea, I will be honest, the idea of life and death have changed to conscious presence, and then it's dismissal. That every night before I sleep, the world leaves me, And then the eyes close as if there were no eyes that could be closed. The attention of the person is not a concept, yet concepts come and go. It is just we are attending the cosmic event, or we have left the great gathering of ice. And this great gathering of ice, 4.5 billion years in the making. What shall it do next? And the simultaneity of cause and effect is literally means the language breaks. It means that the cause never left and the effect never left, and that the cause and effect could be in separate dimensions. That means, let's say we have two dimensions. Let's say we have like an onion, but there's only two layers of the onion. Two concentric spheres. And we have one of the outer onion layer being the cause of the intelligence of the inner onion layer. Now, the cause, the outer onion layer is, let us say the cause, the inner onion layer is the effect is always in the cause. This is closer to the religious narrative. Now, if the outer onion was the effect, then there would be the inner onion, the cause. That means whatever we think is cause now, we are an effect of. That means whatever the person says, the evolutionary biologist has no choice to say it took us a long time to get here. That means their free will is an illusion on a macrocosmic level. But on a microcosmic level, it is our freedom. Lines on a chalkboard cannot contain the universe. They can only point to it. All of human knowledge is a finger pointing at a hope of absolutism in accordance to how the ideology was evoked. We can say the only way cause and effect could be cause and effect is if cause's origin, like sometimes I feel, what if reality is really like a circle? That it's as if the cosmos was just given one command: spin around yourself, everything. And everything began spinning around itself. Even when we look at subatomic particles, they kind of reflect in a fractal way planets. Imagine when they say 99.9% of the atom is empty, that 1% is like a planet in an empty universe, If the system is multidimensional, And if the cause is like the outer onion layer, there no effect exists. That means all effects are simultaneously causes. And all causes are simultaneously effects. Imagine this perception that things have a certain cause and a certain effect is ignorance. Imagine any time you see the effect of something, it's like a coin, it has another side, the cause. Anytime you see something being caused, it's like a coin, it has another side, the effect. So technically, we can say cause and effect is sunglasses. The way we see cause and effect in the outer realms, not per se, but in the inner realms, it's like sunglasses. It is a lens upon an attributeless energetic view. I would say I have had a visual experience of multidimensionality on this planet, but I would say it was a hollow multidimensional experience. And pretty much when I was a kid, I stood in front of two mirrors, and it's like little did I know, and that's parallel universe theory. And I remember I stood behind those two mirrors, excuse me, between those two mirrors. This is an experience of my childhood. And I could tell you the reflections of myself endlessly being there but not there, visually the optical illusion of endless senses of self in the mirror was there. I was visually seeing it. Do you know? But there was nothing there. So it was as if the inner realms was optically by the outer realms convinced or had a way to fathom its parallelhood. Because that's the whole thing of the idea of forgiveness, the idea of change, the idea of just, it has to be either adding dimensions, subtracting dimensions, or there is no dimensions. Or there's no need for dimensions, even, you could say. But that would be too going back towards the cave than outside of it. Right now, I am saying these words. I am causing them. Do you know? But the words are not from me. The words are an effect of the language. How the language is developed, and through nationalism, different dialects became singular. And within a multidimensional system, we could say cause and effect are being witnessed. They're being watched. The mind is watching the body. And when people have wondered, the ancient mystics wondered about what is watching the mind, in the Upanishads it says the seer of the seen is unseen. And in a multidimensional system, it's like weather. I mean, weather is the best example of a multidimensional system. And I feel there is a weather to the psychology of everything. I honestly feel we are antennas. We don't realize it. But we are antennas, and we are this antenna in experientially, it's like riding existence experientially. That means when I ask myself, am I existing first, then I'm experiencing? myself, or do I require to be an experiencer and then I can have an existence? When that question comes to my mind, that is when I'm wondering, did the cause lead to the effect, you know? Or is the effect still the cause? If the effect is still the cause, that means the concept of truth cannot exist. By the conceptualization of there being a truth, even one can say, like that conceptualization is the fragmentation of the experiential truth. So what does that mean? That means, let's say somebody skydived, it was easy for them. Somebody's like, hey man, what's skydiving like? If the person says skydiving is easy, it's as if one experience, and if that person, imagine, believes skydiving is easy and doesn't care for it or whatever, then they suddenly see it's like, I'm telling you, truth is, I think it's an extraction from the realm. From the mountain of the body, we climb to the mountain of the mind. Or let me say it like this. From the mountain of the body, we get to the sky of the mind. From the sky of the mind, we go to the mountain of the individual soul. In Vedic thought, it was Atman. And from the mountain of the individual soul, we go towards the collective sky. Parabrahma. Energy that never needed to name itself to be something. It was before the names arrived. Before language opened its eyes, nature was, experience was like here. Think of how much of our evolution, even as an evolutionary creature in our outer realms, how long we have been silent. For me, sometimes, of course, I speak a lot, but I always feel it's like a opportunity. Because so much of it has been silent, So much of what the world means tends to be in the inner realms, Because if meaning was only in the outer realms, we would have no memories. Just the fact that we have memories is a suggestion that there's something else going on aside from just an object-based visual landscape, that there are inner landscapes. Now, the sense of self for the inner realm and outer realm it is the same. That means it's like, I'll give you an example. Imagine you're a person playing a multiplayer online game. And in the game, you are a character, okay? You are a character in a virtual cyberspace realm where all the other people in that realm are there, okay? Now, behind the computer screen, the person playing the character in the video game, the soul of the character, is the person behind the screen. So what I'm saying is the sense of self behind the person playing the video game, The character in the video game and the person are the same, you know? So, what I mean is that the self of the inner realms and the outer realms is the same movement. That means behind your eyes, you are you, in front of your eyes, you are you. But in front of your eyes, you have access to objects, how objects are organized, and science and physics. They're not things that, it's as if it's like the joy of metaphysics is not understood until, in some sense, the physical is accepted as a reference point. That means in my, I would say, when I realized I wasn't just a thought, I began to be able and capable of observing all thoughts separate to me. And as Aristotle says, it's the sign of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it. That means belief is an acceptance. Disbelief is also an acceptance. But a person who just watches, you know, before the opinion or the inputting of a value or the solidification of a value system, ideas are start off from being like in a gas state, then the more they are vocalized they come into a liquid state. When they are acted upon they are solidified. So if a person we can say, if a person does something violent because of ideology, that ideology was at a gas state, something happened, do you know, that it became it on a vocal level, and from a vocal level it became on a actual action level. And it's the same with peace. That means first there needs to come the idea of peace, then people need to talk about, hey, you want peace? Oh, cool. Do you want peace? Yeah, nice. Okay. Do you know? So once people vocalize it, then it becomes solidified. Then we start living like the advanced civilization uh, is already here. I hope to see the day where kids are asked, "What do you want to do when you grow up, kid?" And the kid's like, "Build a sky city." Just that would be a miracle in my mind. You know, it would, because it would imply that the backup system to the species' psychology required to survive has been fully completed. It's like at that point, I would just probably, probably at that point, return to nature. You know. The notion of multidimensionality is simply there because there is the unknown. If we didn't have a sense of unknown, then everything is just known in one room. You know, if we didn't care to wonder if there's more rooms to this cosmic mansion, you know, there's more even dimensions. You know, we can even say there is interactive multidimensionalism and there is a static multidimensionalism. Dynamic and interactive multidimensionalism, that means the dimensions, imagine the pieces in the cake can communicate to one another, the pieces of the cake that are cut. And then there's one where different cakes are communicating to one another. Like that. I think about it, that when will we get to the brim of a multidimensional, archaic revival in the language of civilization? You know, right now we are all on a sphere. We are coloring parts of this sphere, we're naming it, and we have been even known to kill each other for these colors and names. But when will the effort arise? That means I keep fast forwarding in my inner realms 1,000 years from now. I'm like, eventually people are going to be like, what have we been doing this whole time? Do you know? And that we require to evoke a collective ethos in a world that is blinded by answers, roar questions. You know, in a world blinded by questions, roar answers. I keep thinking about a multidimensional system, and the more dimensions there are to things, imagine you're like, I don't know, you're someone, a farmer back in the day who you have a bunch of horses. The more horses you are, and it's just you, let's say a farmer, one farmer, and the more horses, it becomes like the more horses there are, the more variables are being added to the system. Or think of it this way, imagine you have a house party, and the more people come in, the more chances there are of things breaking in the house. Yeah. So the more dimensions that are added, the more I would say a system needs to slow down to witness what the added dimension implies. When dimensions are being taken away or released, or in some sense integrating into neutrality, then speed comes. I can tell you this is strange. Like, you know how physically as a person we can run? I have ran as attention in my inner realms. And what it is a recognition that it doesn't have to be anything. That the unknown is okay. And suffering has nowhere to push for. Because you see, suffering is inevitable for a temporary being physically, but then we see what is inevitable for suffering is the unknown. That means it's as if when in all the ways, I have felt like I have thrown spears at an unknown sky, trying to break trying to crack the sky, you know? Every containment of reality through ideology will realize there is a greater than sign towards the unknown than the known. All that we know is less than all that we don't know. So knowledge is only left in humility. You know, the best thing we can see happening in educational systems, first of all, realizing knowledge is educational systems should be free globally. This is like you can just think about it. Imagine you had the potential of an advanced civilization. You'd be like, why not? You know, it's like inevitably. If here's the thing, with enough attention and effort, something will happen in whatever direction the person goes. That means, let's say the person has no talent in I don't know, let's say skateboarding. Okay, let's say the person has no skill in skateboarding, but the person wants to endlessly try to become a great skateboarder, try to become Tony Hawk. Okay, so so what happens is the person is going to try it, and even though the person is going to fail and the person has no talent, as a human being, the person is accumulating experiential feedback with the effort. So what it is in this life is there's no such thing as the fearless and the fearful. All there is pretty binary. You put effort or no effort. You know, that's it. And really living in this whole opportunity to be a conscious um, influence upon the environment, that is like, life is a lottery ticket, is it not? When there's all this non-existence around, you know. So I remember like it's like wondering about, oh my god, the idea. It's like how miraculous it was to just create the concept and the word miracle. It's like the concept of the miracle was a miracle. I mean, what we can do is either we keep things we stay very close minded, and what that means is we try to fit the world into a box, you know, or we stop using the box and realize the world is actually bigger, you know, then it can be contained. Then the purpose of life and knowledge becomes just efficiency and unknown exploration. I don't know. It's just, it's so odd that we are 8 billion creatures on a sphere in the middle of nowhere, and we have somehow found comfort in ignoring the deepest questions of this cosmic reality we're in. You know? We have created systems, cultural systems, that just is the person asks the question and it's like their cultural program gives an answer. The environment gives an answer. It's like the person says why this and da 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 da. Like it's like everywhere starts throwing information at the person. It is only those who have learned from the ego that has stayed on the branch and finally has realized the value of liftoff. That means it's as if like the eagle is on one branch, yet it flies in the sky and through that eagle vision sees all the whole forest at once. In any moment in life, a being can go into that eagle vision. It's as natural as noticing the whole moment is really where the meaning of being is coming from. But what can be done can be done. Somebody asked Swami Krishnananda, what is religion? And Swami Krishnananda looked at the person and it's like, religion is God remembering himself. And I was like, that was a very heavy statement because you see, either man is the central cause of meaning, or man is the effect of it. That means if the person doesn't do anything, the person will feel the world is moving them. So they will feel as if they are there. It's like there is divinity, you know. But if the person moves themselves, they will see that their meaning is based on their movement. So it's as if instead of there being a sort of, here's the thing, it's like how can the effect just be the effect when it's aware of its cause? The moment an effect becomes aware of its cause, there never was an effect. And we are that conscious animal that is aware. That means it's as if like, let's say there's a kid is in a, I don't know, let's say a child with its family in an African safari or something. They're seeing this very peaceful gazelle, and suddenly a lion comes and bites the gazelle and starts eating it in front of like this family with young kids or whatever. Right? The lion has no discretion that this family, like young kids, are watching it eat a gazelle. The lion doesn't care about its effect. It's not conscious of what it does. That means if it breaks something, it's like it doesn't care. Do you know? Do you know? But the kids are freaking out, and the parents are like to the driver, drive away! And the driver's like, I can't, the car's out of gas. And the father's like, the kids have to learn the true cruelty of nature. What I'm trying to say is like, the lion doesn't have discretion, doesn't have an awareness of wrong. And when you don't have an awareness of the wrong, you cannot be a moral human being. How can you? What is your reference of morality? That means unless the person chooses, I think this is the source of style in human character, that at some point in life, the person's like, I've had it, and then honest decisions arrive from the inner realms towards the outer realms. And life begins as a sort of movement first, then stillness. The thing that is even the yogis, in some sense, deny. That perhaps it's not that the void is the God of the infinite. The infinite is the God. Infinity is the God of the void. That means I would say, just like how we can say there's a contrast between a singular dimension and a dualistic dimension, we can say there's a contrast between the void and the infinite. Infinity is like the older brother of duality, and the void is like the older brother of the singular, you know. Two questions I would like to bring up. I've made notes here. How was there an effect? How was there an effect without a cause? How was there a cause without an effect? Or another way of saying it is, how could there be an effect without a cause? And how could there be a cause without an effect? You see, the whole point it means is that the effect can never know how it's an effect unless it realizes the cause. But when the effect remembers the cause, how is it being the effect then? So we can say, for the illusion, truth is the only reality. That means simulation theory is the biggest suggestion of, is the proof of truth. That beyond the simulation there's something. That means the moment there is an illusion, truth is right there. It's like you create truth. It's like without the illusion, the truth there's no reference to notice the truth. So what that means is, it's like, imagine I personify this. So the effect is like, how am I being an effect of this moment? How is this moment an effect of something? Do you know? And then the effect, in wondering how it's an effect, it let's say reverse engineers and realizes that it's how the cause, how it's the cause. The moment the effect realizes its cause, it can no longer be the effect. So you can say either we remain as an effect of an unknown cause forever ad infinitum, either we are a cause that never had an effect, we are eternal. We are either, eternal, or cause was never cause. And the concept of cause is an imposter. In the psychological domain, I don't want to say it like that intense, but the concept of cause becomes void. It becomes like ice, that thin ice that breaks. That means the fact that we have thought there is a beginning could be the biggest blind spot to all systems of thought. You see, even in what is it, the first law of thermodynamics, it's like energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can change from one form to another. What is this idea that the Buddhists had of a transmigratory soul? As if consciousness and energy were synonymous, consciousness could never die or be born. So energy, if we are energy and we are conscious, the whole thing is religion. I don't want to say religion, but I would say, because I don't know, religion is, language is so specific there that language is too solid. When language is too solid, it's as if like it becomes idol worship, but in a subjective realm, you know? Because freedom has to be there before discipline can truly be understood. Without freedom, what you could be in the wrong discipline, you know? So I would say, where was I going with this? Okay, here. It's either an unknown. The effect, I can never know its cause. If it does, it's no longer the effect. The cause, the moment the effect knows, if the effect was to know the cause, it would no longer be the effect, so it would only be cause. So that means it's either a cause and effect realm, or it's just causal. Or what I'm saying, this is the one I'm inclined towards, the unknown, where cause was never cause. And people are like, why, Mr.Within? And I'm like, because. I feel we can mesh these. I created this concept called, what was it, in 2 talks ago? I called it letter-linked words. These are 2 words in the English language where the last letter and the first letter of 2 words can connect and become the same. So that means if you look at the word cause, I'll give you an example. For example, the word light and time, if you were to letter link them, it would be light time, where it's written with one T. Do you know? They have the same T in common. Okay? I would say for cause and effect, we can letter link them, and they become Causeffect. One word. And I think nobody perhaps so far has done this. I don't know, but for me, it's a letter linking of the two letters. So cause effect would be the simultaneity. I should write it here probably. Let me see how I could do this. There we go, guys. I perfected the title. This was a good episode. New word came into manifestation. So people are gonna be like, what does this word cause effect mean? You know? And I'm gonna be like the simultaneity of them. That means it's like, did the chicken come first or the egg? It's like they both came, That's the point, It's like in Vedic thought, they're like, which came first, matter or mind, or Purusha or Prakriti, matter or consciousness? And the answer is both, because the witness is beyond them. I could say Vedic thought is one of the most rarest things. That means if there was a museum of language, there would be Sanskrit, would be a giant section of this museum. Sanskrit is a language. I mean, I don't personally speak it, but it's a language where people have said it's the language of the light beings, the glowing beings. You know, I was like, no way. So, anyways, guys, the whole point is that if cause and effect have a simultaneity, they can't exist. That their definitions have to either infuse or become completely nullified. You know. I think we should incorporate the word null with a dash on any concept that we can say we want to stamp as returns to the void inevitably in its view. The thing is, I have realized, here's the thing, we have made the world into stories. We are creatures that have emotions. Because we have emotions and we want to be certain characters in the story, we actually miss out on what's going on. So the view is for the person to stop wanting to be a character in the same story. I don't know how else evolution happens. I think that's the only way it happens. The creature was just tired. It's like, I'm tired of being on four limbs. What is this? I think personally, the ape was just tired of the smell. Oh. So, anyways, guys, I'm gonna actually do a Q&A intermission. So let's try this out. Let's call it You know, guys, really, I think where I should steer this talk is to share one story and then end it off. There's this man. He is seated in an incredibly peaceful and magnificent grassland. He closes his eyes and realizes the eyes of his mind has been opened. He notices how simple nature is. He notices how complex man makes nature as he moves in it. And as the story goes, there is a minion, a dark minion in another dimension. The dark minion, he runs to the Dark Lord, as the Zen story says, and Dark Lord, oh my god, this guy's understood something about the truth, what do we do? You know, he's realized more about the nature of reality. This is like, you know, the Dark Minion's panicking. And the Dark Lord, this is the whole moral of the Zen story. The Dark Lord says, don't worry, because he will soon make a belief out of it. As if a sort of multidimensional error that our species has been making, you know? And really, we have no choice because language hasn't updated, you know, because we're still using language as our primary technology. We haven't become experiential rhythms of the universal sector yet. The human being, upon discovery, in order to bring it back to the tribe, is containing it. I think what's going to happen to advanced levels of communication and exploration in the future is that advanced communicators are going to be people who notice the new. And those who notice the new have a responsibility. It's as if the journey of your eyes, it is full of meaning if you open them. It is full of truth if you realize they have always been open. You see, my mind doesn't have an age. My brain, yeah, you can say the physical outer realm of a biological being, yes. But the mind doesn't have an age. It's like it's like an attention, a camera, and it's like the spherical camera, and phenomenology is shifting on two subtler levels. It's as if it's not about the dance of the actor on stage, it is also about the lighting and the atmosphere. If the human being can instantly, the only enlightenment is instantaneous. The light is in your eyes instantly. And the realm is being then. You see? It's like how fascinating it is. It's like, oh my god, everything I've been seeing is light beams in my eyes. You know? And it's like, what happens when light beams, you know, enter the eyes of a human being, of an evolutionary. Yeah, this is a good way to say. What happens when light beams enter the eyes of an evolutionary creature? Advanced civilizations stretch as far as the edge of the visible universe. Our outer realm purpose is expansion. We have no choice but to realize that what we have been doing is, it's not even of our choice, it's the way nature is designed. It's designed in kingdoms. You see it in animals. Like if you see National Geographic long enough, you would suddenly see the truths of nature. You know, every species is its own kingdom. We are the rare species. We are the conscious species. You know, when I've used the term inferior species and superior species, I would say we are superior because we are aware of consciousness. We know we are temporary. Animals are not like, oh my god, how many days do I have on this planet? You know, how many eons do I have on this planet? You know, it's like a joke, guys. I'll share a joke. You know, two eternal beings are in discussion, and one of them says, I went to this watchmaker, you know, the watchmaker store, like the clock store was closed. The watch store was closed. And the first eternal being sings the second being, and he says, so I went to the store and the clock store was closed. You know, but it didn't matter. And that's the whole joke. Because they're eternal beings, it didn't matter. You know? When I think about my mind, I'm like, it's like, I don't even, it's like, it's too unknown for me to even know what is dying, really, or what is living. That's the beauty of the unknown. And that's the nature of reality, you know? Your attention is how the world opens to you. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. And design prior to intelligence. There is a geometrical dimension. Every phenomenology can be perceived as design in motion. And the coolest thing is that design in motion is being witnessed. That means when we watch how we move, we are the stillness of the mind. When we are still, we are the movement of the mind. All will enter the unavoidable void, but humanity's glow shall never perish. Thanks for listening. Blessings.